Thank you for having me. Yes, it may very well be so a turning point for Turkey's political opposition. After all, you're talking about the most prominent opposition figure with a strong legacy of resistance to what he and others in Turkey see as authoritarian measures. Besides, such an arrest sends a wave of imbalance and uncertainty among the opposition parties in Turkey, while they are galvanizing to offer an alternative to the incumbent president in the next elections. This leaves them in a state of uncertainty and maybe a state of potential conflict. I mean, between the opposition parties themselves regarding the next joint candidate for the upcoming presidential election. This is particularly important when considering the Turkish opposition's call for early elections. So, instead of the fact that Imamoglu bringing up a huge challenge to the incumbent government in Turkey, Imamoglu's side is now rather challenged by the fact that he is legally, and let me underline this, legally prevented from joining the most heated political action in the country. And legally here, of course, is in the terms of the incumbent government in Turkey. This means a replacement must be nominated, agreed on, and hugely and heavily marketed to the Turkish electorate and to the allies of Turkey at the same time. And it is also about the timing of the targeting. Imamoglu's Republican People's Party was about to hold its own primaries for the next presidential elections this Sunday. So, with Imamoglu being the only candidate for these primaries, now the party is calling for a symbolic vote next this Sunday on the primaries day across Turkey.
Okay. And the government, of course, the Erdogan government insists that this case is just a legal matter, not a political one. How credible do you think these claims are?
Less credible than political, in fact. At the end of the day, Imamoglu is a businessman, a real estate developer, and a social democratic politician. He is also the 32nd mayor of Istanbul and has been serving as a mayor of Istanbul since March 2019. With this in mind, only now that he is found corrupt, only now, and even with links to terrorist organizations, when arresting a man on such a charges, people would be expecting you, I mean the authorities, to show them convincing, even hard evidence, not to cut off major transportation, internet, and social media services. In addition, even if these charges stand legal and later on judicial reasoning, how are they in any way relevant to revoking the accusee's university degree? And this is the legal stance on which the incumbent government says he cannot be allowed to run for president because he does not have a university degree. How was this degree not among the requirements of public service throughout Imamoglu's business and political career? This question and other considerations of well point a finger of doubt, if not discredit, to the accusing authorities. And again, the Turkish president is accusing Imamoglu of theatrics, but the opposition is accusing the government of attempting a coup, a political coup. So these are more political than credible.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because there are growing concerns that Erdogan is tightening his grip on power once again, but now, of course, ahead of 2028. Do you think there's any chance that this move could backfire and galvanize opposition forces against him?
Yes, opposition parties have been galvanizing in almost every political action over the last 10 to 15 years in Turkey. Still, according to the Turkish constitution, as amended under Erdogan, Erdogan has no right to run for president anymore. So, within months, be they long or short, a successor has to be nominated or the constitution has to be amended in Turkey. So, according to credible sources, Erdogan is seeking to push forward his once head of intelligence and now foreign minister Hakan Fidan as Erdogan's next successor. And by that date, I mean 2028, Erdogan will be 57 or I'm sorry, 75 or even older, which really casts so much doubt about his ability to run the country anymore. but sending the shockwave among the opposition circles, as I highlighted a while ago, which result in some political and electoral turbulence that would hamper the chances of reaching a unitary stance regarding a candidate other than Imamoglu. This now brings the ball to the court of the opposition, a flammable ball, actually. And by the way, in all previous elections, Erdogan and his party has had to run against what I would call the twin threats of a reinvigorated opposition and a weakened currency. We all remember the 2018 elections in which Muharrem İnce ran across Erdogan. And in 2014, Kemaluddin Ihsanoğlu was the joint candidate against the then Prime Minister, I mean Erdogan. All those historical political steps taken together, the upcoming elections and the most feared runner, I mean Imamoglu, are the most threatening to President Erdogan's power and legacy of all time. And by the way, for a fact, Imamoglu represents the first time since Erdogan came to power that his party, I mean Erdogan's party, was defeated across the country at the ballot box. So Imamoglu is a clear threat to the incumbent government in Turkey.
Well, you mentioned the economy there, Dr. Raslan. This whole situation with Imamoglu has already caused the markets to react negatively, lira plummeting, investor confidence shaken. Do you think there's a chance that this political crisis could have deeper economic consequences?
Yeah, definitely. Consequences will be harmful, whether on the short term or the long term. Capital is a coward, as economists say. So if I cannot run a business because internet services are cut off for sheerly political reasons, that sends the wrong message to business and investment circles, of course. This was even a point of Turkish lecturing lash outs against similar situations in other countries years ago. So now this, coupled with the global and regional political uncertainty considering the situation in Gaza, Israeli expansionism, not to mention, of course, the wake-up call in Europe for stronger military capabilities and action, and with several domestic non-conducive conditions in Turkey, the recent quake, I mean the arrest of Imamoglu, is expected to have a significant economic toll.
And Turkey, of course, remains a key NATO member and an important player in European security. How do you think Western allies might react to the latest developments?
Well, in my point of view, they will be acting the same way they have been, expressing concerns, calling for honoring the requirements of a democratic process. Such an attitude goes so much easier on allies, such as Turkey, of course, than it might be experienced by other countries. Yet, generally speaking, Turkey more aligned to a pan-European and NATO Eurasian interests than to purely Turkish interests is a Turkey much church by NATO. Let me explain. To have Turkey focusing on guarding the NATO and pan-European interests in Europe and Asia would be more beneficial and to the better would be better received by the NATO and Europe. Erdogan's Turkey has been so much involved on several fronts, especially in the last 15 years. And if the incumbent Turkish government becomes an outgoing government in a time soon, aftershocks will be felt in Asia, Europe, and even in Africa. So
Okay.
Western allies will be closely monitoring the situation and preparing for all developments and scenarios.